Hey, how's it going? This is Rob from Justin's Toys, and today I'm going to show you how to make a Rainbow Loom Slingshot. And this idea was actually brought to me by my brother Justin. So let's get started. In order to make this slingshot, you are going to need to find a heavy duty stick. You're going to need sandpaper. You're going to need a loom, a hook, and about 200 rubber bands, depending on how strong you want to make it. So the first thing you want to do is set up your loom. It's just going to be a standard setup, straight across. So like all bracelets made on the Rainbow Loom, you need to make sure that the arrow starts with it pointing away from you. Starting with my first color, I'm grabbing 2 rubber bands, okay, and I'm gonna put them on the first and second peg on the left. Alright, and I'm just gonna do this the same exact way on the right. Alright, so right here I'm going to start my starburst. Okay. But the first thing I need to do is I need to finish all the rows on the side. So I'm just going to continue this alternate brown and white design all the way down the line. And I'm going to end it right here on the white so that it's symmetric to my beginning, which started on the white. Alright, so the starburst is going to start right here. And this is going to be the center of my starburst. So starting with these 2 pegs right here, I'm going to put down my first 2 rubber bands, 2 rubber bands, not 1, because I want to make it as thick as possible so that it can grip whatever it is I'm slingshotting the easiest. Then going clockwise, I am going to put another 2 rubber bands, then another 2 rubber bands, and I'm going to do that until I'm all the way around all 8 sides. Alright, so once I get that last side, I'm actually good to start alternating colors again and finishing that last middle column of rubber bands. Alright, now I'm almost done. So now what you want to do is put vertical rubber bands down each of these rows. So as you can see right here, I don't really need it because this starburst is going to be strong enough and it wouldn't make sense conceptually so I'm leaving that out. But if you weren't doing the starburst, you can actually just have these vertical lines all the way down the line. And there you go. I am done with my whole entire setup. And now I can begin looming. So at this point, I am going to turn the loom around so that the arrow is now facing me. And starting from that first bottom left corner, I'm going to grab those two white rubber bands from under that vertical rubber, that horizontal rubber band. So, like my all-around triple, you want to grab your hook and push down the front of all of the rows, so it's going to make it easier for you to grab just those bottom rubber bands. I'm going to skip this whole entire starburst part because that doesn't need to be pushed down. Okay, now back to the beginning. As you can see, there's a bigger gap now, and now it's going to be easier. I'm going in front of that white, grabbing those two whites, and then I'm bringing it up top. Again, this middle one is going to feel extremely loose, so one tip, you might want to put your finger on top and maybe push down this whole thing so that it doesn't loosen. Alright, now the rightmost, as you can see, I'm going in front of that one white rubber band, and I'm grabbing those two from the bottom, going in that corner, and bringing it up and over. There we go. Now row 2, going in front of all of the rubber bands except for those bottom two browns or burgundy, whatever you want to call it, looks brown to me. Up and over that peg. This one is going to get kind of difficult because it slips a lot. I usually hold it with my finger until this rubber band is up and over, and then go over those pegs. Alright, again this side in front of all those rubber bands except those two on the bottom, around the corner and over. And basically I'm doing the same exact thing until I reach the beginning of my starburst. So I'm just going to continue. Alright, so I've reached the beginning of my starburst. If you did everything right, it should look like teardrop shapes down the line, except for these first ones and possibly these. So as you can see, they look like teardrops, so everything looks good. And now, if you know how to make a starburst, you know that you need to grab one rubber band, turn it into an 8, and then bring that side back around so that it's double looped. And you're going to put a rubber band on top of the center peg that's in the middle of that star. Alright, so once you do that, you want to grab the front end of this rubber band that makes up the middle bottom of the starburst, and you want to grab it from in front of all those rubber bands and bring it back to itself on top of that black rubber band. Now, once you do that, you're going to try to identify this rubber band. The rubber band that's connected to this peg, which is going to be in that hole, but the trick is you have to get in front of that double looped black rubber band and then grab that from underneath. And once you grab it, You bring it back into the hole, go around the edges so you can loosen it, and then put it back on the same peg that the other end is. Alright? And if you did everything right later on when you're double checking everything, you're going to notice that there's going to be no rubber bands that are touching this peg. And I'll show you exactly what that means. Now I'm going to identify these two rubber bands, but again, I'm going in front of that black rubber band and I'm just grabbing those two, bringing it around that corner, and then bringing it back to itself. You might want to pull it a little hard because sometimes it'll just get caught right there. And now these two rubber bands are going to get identified. I'm going in front of that black rubber band, grabbing those two other ends, bringing it up, back around to itself. Now I'm identifying these two rubber bands right here, going in front of that black, grabbing those two, up, over. Now I'm identifying these two rubber bands in front of that black, find those two, up and over. As you can see, it's starting to look like they're not touching, so I'm pretty sure I'm on the right track. And now in front of the black rubber band, grab those two ends of that rubber band, bring it up and over and back to itself. And now the last one, this peg, this rubber band, identify it in front of the black, grab those two and back to itself. Alright, there you go. My middle starburst is finished. And now I could continue to do the sides and then start from here and go on as well. So I'm going back to the beginning of that starburst. I'm going in front of all of those rubber bands, except those bottom two whites. I'm grabbing that from under. Go around, up, and over. Okay, I'm just going to finish this whole entire side and then work on the next column. So in front of all those, up, and last one. Alright, so now I'm going to finish the rightmost band. So starting from my beginning of the starburst, going in the hole, in front of all of those, around the sides, up and over. It's going to be a lot more tension than just the regular bands. In front of all those holes, grab those two rubber bands, up and over. Okay, in front of all those rubber bands, grab those two from the bottom, go up and over. And then now it's going to get easier because I'm past the starburst. In front of all those rubber bands. Okay, now the last part, the middle. This is the end of the starburst, and I'm just going to go in the middle, go in that top, that teardrop right there, grab those two browns under, bring it up and over, and again, middle, in front of all those rubber bands, and grabbing those whites from under, up and over. In front of all those rubber bands, grabbing the browns. I pretty much am done. And if you take a look, you should see teardrops all across the line. And that should tell you everything is good. And then in the middle I have my starburst. So as you can see, my starburst looks good too. That middle peg isn't being touched. And that means everything is good. So at this point, what I can do is I could actually pull this off of the loom. Alright, so I'm going to hold onto this side and I can start pulling it off like so. So I'm not letting them come off these last pegs. Alright, I'm actually going to leave it there. Alright, so now I'm done. And what I have to do now is build the sides of the slingshot, which is this right here. And to do that, I am actually going to remove this whole entire part by pulling it off of the loom. And this does require some type of skill. And I'm bringing it back around, and I'm going to reapply these rubber bands by putting it in the hole, taking it off, and then I'm going to transfer it to the 6th peg. And it gets really tight, so this is a pretty difficult task. So once I have all 6 down, all the rubber bands down, now I'm going to grab all of them from the middle by putting it in the peg, grabbing it, and then putting it on one of these 2. Okay? And this one should be easier. But, I mean, at this point, I can actually just do what I need to do. I'm going to put these 2 on this 4th peg down, and then these other 2 on the peg next to it. Alright. So, on this one, I'm actually going back to this one on the right. And I am going to grab just the 2 ends, and I'm bringing this back and putting it on the peg next to it. These 2 parts. So, using the loom, the hook, and putting it back on. This one is actually getting really annoying, and we don't need this, so I'm just going to pull it off. And then we want to put the other 2 ends of this on the peg next to it. Alright, so basically now we're set up so that we can actually turn these into fishtails. Alright, so what we are going to do at this point is we're going to put 2 rubber bands on top, and then we're going to start making the fishtail bands on the side. Alright, so basically now what you want to do is grab your next rubber band on the fishtail. As you can see, there's 2 rubber bands on the bottom of each side. You want to kind of make sure it's straight and that the bottom rubber band is under the rubber band on top. Okay, and once you do that, you're going to put, you can start with any of these ends. You're going to put the white rubber band on top, grab the sides on the bottom, bring it over to the top, and then do that on the other side. Like so. And you're just going to keep on continuing this until it's long enough for it to be a slingshot. And I'm just going to count to 20. So that's number 2, number 3. And basically we're just doing that on all 3 ends. Alright, so I'm going to be back once this is long enough. So there you go, this is my last one. Bring this up and over. And as you can see, my first band is complete. That's hooked onto that. And now I need to go to this one. I'm going to grab one rubber band, put it on top, grab one end of that white, bring it up and over, and grab the other end of that same white. See, it gets kind of confusing. You kind of have to identify which one is the bottom. And you do that by pulling that bottom one as hard as you can and seeing which one tightens up on the other side. So as you can see, this one looks like it tightened up. So you're grabbing that and you're bringing it up. Alright, and grab a white, put it over, and grabbing one end, and bringing it up, and grabbing the other end, and bringing it up, and then you're putting the burgundy on top. And grabbing one end, up, and the other end, up, and you're just going to keep on doing this, and just like how I did the middle one, I'm going to do this 20 times. Alright, so I'll be back once this is long enough. Last one. Alright, so as you can see, that second band is complete, and now it should make it a lot easier for this because they're all pulled over to the side. And now I'm going to start again on this side. So just like the other two, one rubber band on top. Grab the bottom of one side, bring it up. Alright, so there you go. Last one. And as you can see, all 3 bands are done. There's this rubber band here that was a remainder of the end of the triple single, which I'm just going to get rid of. And as you can see, if you did it right, it should look like that. Alright, and now what you want to do is you want to grab another one of these pieces right here, and you're actually going to transfer this end onto one of these. So what I would do at this point is actually pull these down so they're not going to fall off. And if you go zoom close, you're going to see that all of this end is actually 2 different rubber bands that end this first bracelet. Again, 2 different rubber bands, and that's actually what you're going to be transferring onto here. This first bracelet is going to go onto these 2 pegs. This second bracelet is going to go onto these 2 pegs, and then this third bracelet is going to go onto these 2 pegs. So starting with these two. We're actually going to rip this off after we transfer, but for the time being we'll leave it because it's holding everything together. I'm going to put one end of those two whites on top, then identify the other end, which is going to be these two right here that are looking kind of tight, and then we're going to put that on the one next to it. Then on this third peg we're going to put these two burgundies, and then we're going to identify the other end of those two burgundies, which are going to be these two. And I'm just going to use my hook because it does get kind of difficult to grab. So grab those two and put it back on. Okay, and the last one is going to be the hardest because it's the one that's going to have the most tension, but you're going to identify both ends. This is one end, so I'm going to go in and grab it and then put it on the sixth peg over, not to be confused. You got to skip one, and then the other end, which is going to be these two tight ones right here. It's very difficult because it's so tense. Might be easier to just pull everything and hold it next to it. And then when you're over here, since there is less tension, go in and grab those two rubber bands from inside and over. Alright, so I got all three finally. I'm actually going to start on one end because I noticed that it made it easier last time doing one end first. So again, starting with your next color, put that on top, bring up one of the ends. Alright, again it gets confusing. You want to make sure you grab both ends of the same rubber band and you're bringing that over to the side. So I'm bringing one of the whites up, and then on the other side I'm just going to tug to figure out which one the other end is, because whichever one pulls out easier and looks like it's loose is definitely the other end. And in this case you can already tell, because this one isn't that tense, that this has to be the other end, and you're going to bring that over. It's not going to look right because it does have so much tension, but you can see what's happening over here. And grab the next one, grab the white from under, bring it over, and then this side, grab the white from under, bring it over. Alright, there's two more. The first one. There you go. I'm done with that side, and now I'm going to do the middle. Then grab the next color, put it on top. This one seems like it's self-evident which one's on the bottom and which one's on the top. And grabbing just those two on the bottom, pull it up, and push it down. Grab the next one. Okay. Hold it up, over the top. Alright, so I'm done with that middle one, and as you can see, that's how it looks. I got one more side left. So, and this should all have loosened because now there's really no tension pulling it. So it kind of straightens out where it's a lot easier to identify which one's on the bottom. So now I'm going to grab rubber band on the top. Push down, grab another rubber band, up and over, same thing as before, and I'll be back once it's done. Alright, so last one of the rubber bands that I am going to be using. Alright, so now I am done with all the rubber bands and looming. And once you're done, it should look just like this. Alright, so now what you want to do is you're actually going to file down 3 stripes. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 on your stick. And those 3 stripes are going to help hold these in place. So what I'm going to do is, I have sandpaper right here. I'm actually going to take a marker and I'm going to highlight exactly where the 3 stripes are going to go on my slingshot, and I'll just use this as reference. You don't want to go too close to the bottom because if you do, then it might interfere with the sling. Alright, so I marked 3 slots on where I'm going to start filing down on my stick. Okay, I use this straight across to try to make sure that they're parallel and they're even. And then once you have set that up, you can actually start sanding down. I have this sandpaper flattened out so I can actually just keep on going back and forth, as you can see. So I'm going to be back after that's completely filed down all sides. It does take some work, but guarantee you'll be the coolest person that ever loomed once you make your own slingshot. So I'll be right back. Alright, so as you can see, I sanded down 3 stripes down the side. Some tricks is you fold the paper and you try to use parts that you haven't used before, and you're just going to go back and forth, and see, once this part is used, it no longer really sands down. So then I fold another part like that, but you kind of have to secure it with harder material. So once you do that, might be wise to even put like a ruler or something. It'll definitely help if you take a ruler, wrap it around. That way you have more of the ability to sand. So I'm done with these 3 sides. I'm going to work on these 3 sides and I'll be right back. Alright, so as you can see, I've grinded it down 3 sides, 3 grinds on each side, and you can see it kind of indents in, and that's actually what's going to hold the rubber bands in. So once you do that, you can actually begin to transfer the rubber bands onto the actual sling. So starting with one side, we are going to begin transferring. As you can see right there, you'll notice that these two rubber bands are what is responsible for holding this bracelet together. So what you want to do is you want to take this side and bring it back to itself, and that's actually going to be the one that hooks on back to this first slot. So I am just going to grab those two, bring it back to that first peg, and then grab those two rubber bands on here. So now all four of those rubber bands are actually on my hook. And now this part is going to get kind of tricky. You want to try to pull as much pull it so that it wraps around your twig, and you could do that by just putting 2 fingers in it and then bringing it down all the way to that groove that you made. Alright, and then you're going to do that with that second one. I mean, it's actually easier for me to just grab both ends using my hands, bring it in so that it's all on one finger, then pull it out, and then bring it to that second groove. Alright, so again, going in, grabbing one end and the other end with your other hand, putting it through your pointer, and putting those through to your pointer, and pulling it and sticking your middle finger in, and then going over. Alright, so that side's actually done. Now we're going to do the other side. Alright. So again, we're grabbing that bottom one. Always the bottom. Grab one end. And grab the other one. Put it on your pointer finger. Alright, put the other 4 on your pointer and pull it. Put your middle finger in. And then we're going to bring this down, up, and over, and bring it down to that first groove. Alright? Alright, I don't think you guys saw that. Grab both ends. Alright, put one end around your pointer and the other around your pointer. Then put your middle finger in, and then bring it down all the way to that second groove. Alright, last one. Bring one end and bring the other. Put it through your pointer, then pull it, put your middle finger through, and then bring it to that groove. Alright, so there you have it. I finished the slingshot. Now I'm just going to turn these rubber bands so that all of them are ending at one end. So I'll just pull it and then turn it. Alright, pull it and turn it, so now it's comfortably set back. Pull it and turn it. Pull it and turn it. And then pull it and turn it. And then pull pull it and turn it. And there you go. Now what you can do is, actually I'm just going to get rid of this because this is completely useless. And what you can do is, whatever it is you're slinging, you grab with this on the sides, you pull back, and you launch. And I'll show you some demonstrations on how this works.